second time starting this podcast. Third time, including the fire. If you want to find out what happened during the first and second time, you'll have to
join the
basically-
Patreon.
You have to basically join the Patreon, which exists now. It's existed for a while, but we've put no effort into promoting it because we're both fucking lazy as fuck. Well, lazy, absent-minded.
Lazy, absent-minded, and busy with a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, for people
What we like is our fingers in a lot of pies, and we will both probably admit a lot of those pies we're not keen on the flavour of anymore. But we keep our fingers in them. We can't help ourselves.
Can't take
We're like,
them out.
this is a task that I've started, so I'll see it through. There's no visible end for this task. It's going nowhere. There's no way to even measure when this pie will be cooked.
The contents of the pie have been warm. They've cooled down. The pastry is now soft. The filling has now become just a gelatinous mess. And our fingers are basically in the pie because we're scared to see what the ends of them look like if we take them out. Basically, that's why I've got.
And we can't use them pie tins again because they've been there that long. They've rusted.
Those pie tins are rusty. There's mold. There's essentially E. coli has infested the pies. Yet we remain fingers deep, knuckle deep in dead pie. Which is never a situation I'd like to be in. Also, by the way, did I tell you that I caught a woman fingering herself at the side of the road?
I did see it on your stories,
mate.
Which is do you reckon it was an OnlyFans thing, a little request, or do you reckon she just was driving and she's not had her end away for a while and she's looking up the clouds and then she looks at some tree branches and she's like, fucking hell, look at that tree, the outline, and that she's in the traffic jam, I presume, and she's looking at the tree, she's like, the outline of that looks like, look at that, oh fucking hell, and then she's got to pull over because she's seen some dirty images in the tree in her head, and she just fingers herself and then drives off, all clear-minded again, like, I don't know what came over me.
Well, so at the time,
how did you even clock this?
I'm glad you asked. I'm really glad you asked. First off, wasn't in a traffic jam. And if you'd like to hear the traffic jam story, you'll also have to listen to the first bit of bonus content that's going in the Patreon. Because we cut it off after 20 minutes. It weren't fitting the theme of the show that we haven't told you that. It's fine, we'll get into it shortly. But you'll have to listen to that to find out what happened in the traffic jam. This did not happen in the traffic jam. This was at the other end of that journey. This was on home soil. Home turf. We in County Durham.
In a driveway.
It was it, Mum. Fuck's sake, you don't do that inside.
I told you I was going away for the night. Couldn't you have waited?
No, on a lay-by where it's never busy, this woman, she's got out of driver's side.
Well, she don't want to make a mess of her seat.
It's also the side. It's also the side facing traffic. But the angle you come at, you can still see like what she's doing. So she's on the passenger seat with her legs like out the car. One leg's over the window, through the window, leg over like sort of like there, and the other one's like towards the ground. And she's strumming the Velvet Clam, like just
now,
fucking.
She could be doing that, or what she could be doing is she's prepared a lovely meal before she's gone to pick a fella up or
brushing
a partner up
off.
from work. No. And it's she used a lot of chili powder and it's got under her nails. And then while she's driving, she's just had a little itch like that. And then she's drove a little bit further and gone, oh, fucking hell. Oh, and then she's just fanning it off in the window, hoping, I hope no one sees this. It's not half going to look, some knobhead's going to come past and tell we're weirdos and strangers on the internet that I'm fingering myself. Just to give it a benefit of the doubt, that could be happening. But the video that you recorded and sent me does seem to make me think otherwise.
I'd like to point out first and foremost, I did not take a video, and that's not to defend myself against revenge porn. It's more so that I don't want the points that I was driving whilst recording. I didn't have a handheld phone in my hand. I didn't have a handheld device on my person. It was on the passenger seat actually it wasn't on the passenger seat. It's on the little centre console. I balance it in front of the sort of bit where your lighter goes / little docking shelf station bit. I balance it in there. So then I can connect my aux to it. That's where the phone was. But all of that's good and well, apart from I saw that woman visibly fingering herself. And at the time I didn't think. I just thought that's an odd thing. Also, behind us, school bus. So that weren't the best. She didn't clock that. She was well in motion before we drove past, but it's not a great look. It's not a great look.
No, it's not where you want to get caught doing that.
If I'm sat there doing that, I'm on front page of the Northern Echo. You know what I mean?
She could be, though. You never know. By morning rolls around, them school kids come past. They've all got phones. They all film it. She's plastered all over TikTok. And then what if it's a weird marketing strategy? That's her son's school bus. He's going to get off, him and his mates are all going to record his mum fingering herself in the front of a car out of a window. And then they're going to put it on TikTok and tag her account on it so she can advertise her OnlyFans. So she's already got hours and hours of content on there already. She's going to go to prison for a few months. People are going to sign up, pay it. She's going to come out of there. She can afford a whole street of houses.
That family has there's some deep discussions they have to have with each other that contain things I'm not privy to. I shouldn't be privy to, but
it's just business.
I did ponder what was going on. Like, was it someone? I've had multiple messages about it. Someone suggested, like, did she have like jeans on? It was one of those things where it was just rubbing up the wrong way or the right way as it might be, and she was like, "Fuck, I've got to pull over." That happens to people.
That's a thing.
Do you know, like, yeah, when you get like contact, well, basically friction's touching, innit? Like,
yeah,
and you can get. I'm not going to pretend that fucking you can't get random boners from like material rubbing.
Oh yeah, of course, but you never think to yourself, "Fucking better pull over."
Some people do.
That's the bit that I've got the problem with. It's
Let's
not
be
the
honest,
problem
right?
of randomly being aroused. It's the
this woman isn't whatever sort of scale you're comparing things to. She's sort of on the not extreme end, but she's on the riskier end of that scale. So yeah, you're right. You probably haven't had that feeling. That's why you've never been seen wanking in a lay-by in front of a school bus. But this woman clearly does. So let's try and get to the bottom of it. Is it an issue? Is the husband not happy? Is she not allowed to wank in the house? Does she have children? Does she have a dog that gets in the way? Maybe some dogs are needy and like... I've seen multiple clips on the internet, like on like funny parts of Reddit where they're like, "Oh, look at this cam girl's doing this," and then a cat gets in the way. Lol, isn't this funny? That's not funny. That's not funny. Any animal involved in not involved in a sexual act. Well, yes, involved in a sexual act. That's also
at least
wrong.
Even privy to.
Yeah.
Especially in a public way. If your dog strolls in or your cat strolls in while you're going at yourself or someone else, fair enough. But you don't.
No, not fair
film
enough.
yourself and.
No, not fair enough. I'm still like that's off-putting as fuck to me. I'd rather it be another person.
You're just there going at it, and then all of a sudden you're like, I have to make eye contact with the dog. Just like, is that the thing that not in like a sexual way?
Those animals.
I have to assert dominance to this creature here.
This is your
owner.
In
the room.
This is your owner, and I'm its owner.
The boss.
Nah, like I get along with dogs a lot. Most dogs. And we've said this multiple times, more than most people. And I don't want to corrupt their innocence by making them see that shit. Put it this way, I've found it much easier to shag in a room when another person's been in the room when I have than a pet's been in the room. Or even a stray, although I haven't really shagged in a room where there's been many stray animals, but I'm imagining with a stray animal in the room. You know me, serial shagger in squats.
I think I'd find it.
I'm always about
squatting.
It
quite distracting to have another person in the room because I have that thing in me where I have to try and be the funnier person in the room. So I'm gonna be. I can't
swinging it to the
wouldn't be able to concentrate, mate. I wouldn't be able to concentrate on either being funny to the person over there or effectively getting me end away. There's no middle ground either with those two things. Like I don't know what would win in my head either.
Yeah, but that is almost why I would go into that situation because that's the only way. That's the only time in that. That's not the only situation we're going to find that out. You're like, which side would win? I don't know. Let's see. Let's just go into it blind and see. And then one person is going to be disappointed. It could be the partner. It could be you. It could be the person who's in the other room who was like
the person who's in there who's just wanting to watch people have sex, and you're there giving them a full solid 5 minutes of just things you've been thinking about, and you think this is good. This is a good anecdote. This always gets people.
Yeah, this is me. I'm just running the new 5 minutes by him, just the new set. Just going, it's a crack. I've been working on it for fucking ages, man. He's like, will you just fucking stick your penis in that or what? Like, no, whoa, don't rush into things.
It is in there. It's in there. It's in there. I'm just not. I can't enjoy myself unless you're laughing.
Yeah. Punchline first, then we'll get down to fun. All right. This episode is the dick pills. There you go. There's a segue. This episode's about drugs.
Well, I imagine a lot of these situations like that have occurred when people have been on drugs.
Oh, 100. Well,
everyone in the room's on Mandy, and you're like, oh,
the only
do you
time
want to watch my floppy willy fucking upset her?
Do you know what? If someone asked us that in the First off, I'd have to clarify, like, what the definition of upset in that situation. Like, is it upset as in, oh, or is it upset as in, yeah, disappoint? I can get with that. That's better. Upset. There was
not like mortify.
Yeah,
or not ruin.
Or jeopardize, or yeah, like spoil, or in any way just psychologically destroy. But if you just mean like be ashamed of you, not them, absolutely, yeah, I'd be a great situation to be in. The only time. Do
you want to come in here with me and watch me make her feel sorry for me?
Yeah, I fucking do.
Yeah, you know.
It's the same reason I watch.
Love that me.
It's the same reason I watch most of the shit I watch on the internet is to watch people willingly degrade themselves for the benefit of them, somehow themselves and others. I'm all about it. Yeah, I can imagine. I can also imagine that drugs have got some people, and they've got me through it. They've definitely got me through situations where I've been like, you know what? If I hadn't bashed 2 grams of Mandy in, we wouldn't be in this room together right now. And then the more sober, more conscious me would be like, this isn't a good idea, and this isn't someone that I should be doing this with. But the drugs have obviously provided a much more positive influence in going, nah, fuck it and find out, literally.
And tests what happens. What can we do? Oh, 3 bombs was a bomb too far.
You got to find boundaries with yourself. I'm not talking about others. I'm talking about yourself. And it's a bit my life over, especially from teens to late 20s. It's essentially been running a long-term experiment. And it's been a thorough scientific experiment on chemicals and their effect on all parts of the human biology, psyche, emotional construct, and everything involved in that, and the definitely no repercussions that could possibly arise from it, / crippling depression.
Not yet. Anyway, a few more years, and then
we'll really be
take hold.
Yeah. Then we'll start doing this show and really mean what we say.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be the same things.
Then it becomes a recruitment drive at that point there. You'll grow your hair out as well.
Yeah. We'll be selling
shaving as often, and we'll both
start
look
selling
like
those,
how we feel.
We'll start selling Nikes to everyone, so we're all wearing the same pair of shoes, and we'll be reading from the same book, and at the same time, we'll be
truth-seeking brand applesauce.
Is that what the market we're going down?
Yeah, because we sell the, whatever, the drug of choice at the time for mass suicides. We can't look too deeply into the future for that.
Fentanyl's got to be it's a good, and it appears to do a very good job. There appears to be only a small amount required for it to have a very devastating effect. From all of them, which is, do you know what? It wasn't on the list of things to talk about, but it's probably
imagine
a really good one.
As a new little slang name then for fentanyl, you call it Swiss Jeebs.
Can I ask why?
Well, like Swiss cheese, and you can go to Switzerland to top yourself. And if you can buy enough fentanyl, which probably won't be that much, you could probably kill yourself with it. And Jeebs is already a drug that would knock you out. But this is the Swiss Jeebs, so it definitely knocks you out.
It's Chinese jeeps, though, isn't it? To be honest, let's be, and this is actually a great start, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was like the countries and their government's involvement in the drug trade, and whereas countries and administrations like those in America or in the UK, whereas we like to do our drug trading either covertly via guerrilla groups and undercover agents, or via
intelligence
legal
services.
corporations like medical cannabis fucking companies that certain politicians and their partners might have millions of fucking pounds in stocks in. We like to do ours in a way that's it's classy, it's good. Now the Chinese and the North Koreans as well, not to the extent of the Chinese, but the North Koreans make a lot of meth.
We bring this up a lot, don't we? That little North Koreans making meth. We bring that up in nearly every show, which is nice. It's nice to have a recurring. We should have one of them in.
It is, and it's something like they don't get bigged up enough. They don't get bigged up often, like North Korea. They're quite, for a nation that really needs a little bit of support, they don't get any. All they get from the outside world is the world saying how shit North Korea is. And you know what? It is shit. So let's tell them they're good at something to at least try and bring them out of it. And I'm not looking to give support to Kim Jong. I'm not looking to go, you're doing something well. I'm saying the people, look, you're really good at making meth. It's quite clear. It's all over the world. You're proper good at it. Big up yourselves. But the Chinese and fentanyl is on a different scale. And with fentanyl, I'm not saying that drugs like crack or heroin or even meth, they're not without dangers. They're obviously extremely addictive, and the results of that addiction are crippling for the people around them and society as a whole. It brings down society as a whole. However, I can't see a reason for fentanyl to be produced for recreationally, or as a drug that people get into for a buzz at first. Fentanyl just seems to be something that spikes every other drug that people are trying to have fun with. I don't know of anyone who started taking fentanyl and was like, this is a great buzz. So it appears to be something that is, for what I understand, and there probably are medical uses, obviously, but for what I understand recreationally, is its only use is to be used as an agent to cut other drugs and make them have an extremely strong opioid effect, but also be toxic as fuck.
Maybe it's to ruin the drug trades so that people start to... Because imagine if I spoke about this earlier on. You know that thought experiment of the monkeys and the ladder?
Go on.
So the idea that you have a room with a few monkeys in there, and then you beat the monkeys and they go up the ladder and get food, and then then you introduce more monkeys, and these monkeys teach them monkeys go up the ladder, get food, but then you stop putting food up there, and whenever the monkeys go up there, you beat all of them within an inch of their life. And then you get rid of most of them monkeys and bring in new monkeys, and then them monkeys teach the other monkeys don't go up the ladder because you'll get beaten. But they don't know. Eventually, they don't know why they're teaching them don't go up the ladder because no one's been beaten.
We did this in psychology A level, didn't we? Yeah, who was it?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I just know it. I don't think it actually ever happened. I thought it was just.
I thought it was a button and it wasn't a ladder.
Oh, it could be, and I might have misremembered it. But still, my point is the beating is the drugs overdosing and killing. So if they keep fentanyl in every drug, say in the country, to keep, for example, the Chinese out of taking recreational drugs, they spike everything with enough fentanyl to put down a horse.
It's not the Chinese. It's not. They're not. They're not.
They're just making it and exporting.
Yeah, this is it.
My point is, you put that into it, and then it stops a whole. You could stop a generation, 2 generations, whilst all the older generations are like, nah, fucking. Drugs are nice. Moderation is everything. This and that. And then you've got the older generation above them who were like, no, drugs are awful. Don't be doing drugs. That we never did drugs. And it cycles round like that. But what if now they've learned? Well, if we put fentanyl in everything, and we do that for longer than what we did it with the wartime generations, then they're not gonna. Because it's weird because the wartime generations, when they were at war, were all off the face.
Yeah. It's where a lot of these drugs were fucking tested and developed. Things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
meth and loads of
But they didn't-
amphetamines and shit like that.
They don't see it as something that should be brought back into civilian life. It seems.
I think I think that could be one of the things that one of the points to talk about when it comes to prescription drugs like antidepressants. That you had the ones that came before that seemed to work, and now it seems to be a point where we are, whether it's on purpose or whether it's by chance or whether it's just really poor diagnosis or whether it's lazy diagnosis and people are looking for a blanket fix, but the overprescription of like antidepressants and things and mood stabilizers is mental, absolutely mental. And that could that's definitely something that could be considered as like, are they trying to basically nullify a generation and make them like have no power, have no sort of drive to basically get angry about stuff? Like they're saying, you shouldn't be angry. I know you're in a horrible situation. I know society's fucked. I know you've got no job. I know you've got no prospects at all. I know you did everything you could when you were growing up. You went to school. You got your education. You did all this. Like you graft hard, but there's no jobs. There's no prospects. You'll never get a house. You'll never own a car. You'll never have anything like that. But you shouldn't be angry. No, that anger's coming from that's something that's really illogical. Take these tablets. They'll stop you being angry. Instead of being like, oh no, I'm angry. Let's actually take all this anger we've got together, and then use it against the thing that's making us angry, which is the fucking government and the problems we've got. That's a distinct possibility. But I'll go back to fentanyl after you're on the brink. You're fighting it. Proper fighting.
I try not to interrupt you this time.
No, go on.
I think one of the reasons that they would do that is because they had to see what the internet would do. And then when they realised what power the internet would have, when it changed from being very niche websites and forums and you had to look that out to then allowing everybody to share literally any idea on a place where everybody could congregate and everyone could be like, look at the lizard people, look at the greys, look at the gnomes, or the other side of it all where they're like, have you heard about the healing power of tofu or whatever,
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Can you? Well, hang on.
They all start.
What's this healing power of tofu?
If you rub it into your pores, it brings out your blackheads.
Does it?
Yeah, after it's been deep fried, you just rub it in. You rub the oil from the cooking oil from the tofu in, and it brings out your blackheads. Really well, they'll be everywhere.
Started calling. I haven't started calling. That's a complete. I did that thing there that comedians do where they've they made reference to something. Yeah, they lie and as if go, oh, this happened to us yesterday, like all this, or this happened like this. I haven't been thinking this for a while. This again occurred in the traffic jam today, when someone talked to it with messages about the fucking lady famming herself off in the lay-by, coming up started calling dildos tofu sausages, because it's for when someone doesn't want the real meat. Be that a vegan or a lesbian or just a lady in general, just that it couldn't be maybe a gentleman, anyone really who likes.
I think a vegan's still allowed to have sex. They just won't let themselves have sex with animals,
which is quite restrictive. Let's be honest. Be open with your life.
Yeah, imagine if that's all it turned out vegans were. Vegans was just a group of people that really, really badly wanted to fuck animals and were like, can't have anything to do with them. And that's how it started. Like, I can't even eat bacon because it gets me thinking about pigs and ribs and how many nipples they have down the ribs. And you go like that up the nipples of the pig, and then all of a sudden, I'm fucking a pig.
And they're looking at us they're looking at us thinking we all think like that too.
Yeah,
and they eat them, which means they obviously yeah. You shouldn't do that because they don't have that restraint. That would make a lot of sense because a lot of the people that they cross the boundaries. But that Venn diagram where I look at like vegan and nonce, it's almost a circle. It's almost just two circles overlapping perfectly. So it would make a lot of sense. I have no idea where we were going with this bit, but fentanyl. The Chinese don't take it themselves; they just export it. So it seems to be like it's government backed purely for profit. Knowing, like it's murder. It's known murder.
We did The English and the Americans did try to ply a load of the Chinese with opium
We didn't
for a
try. We
very
did it
long
very
time.
successfully.
Yeah,
We had
after
the opium
forcing them to
laws.
like dig canals and stuff, and
We
like
want-
they did with the Irish.
Right, mate, right. So they wouldn't give us tea, and we wanted tea, right? And they said we weren't allowed any more tea. So it's only right, as a nation that really likes tea, that we force their country to be addicted to opium so they're weak, so we can then attack them, overthrow them, and then make them sell us tea for cheap. It's only...
So do you reckon there's something in tea that we're not aware of? Like, yeah, we'll give the peasants, the working man and that, we'll give them the leaves of the tea. But we want because what's a tea flower? Does tea plants, do they flower? What does that do?
Nothing, I don't think. Do you know what? I think it's the complete opposite. I don't think there's anything that's next level about it. What I think is that the worst addictions are the ones that have no real physical, like, no physical display or no physical, like, physically appearing side to them. So
Like when you've been smoking for years and then you have a cig and if you've already had like a few cigs that day.
Caffeine and
Yeah.
sugar.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the worst, because they're the ones that people. Because one of the reasons that people like demonize drugs and that is the way they see people who are on drugs, or who they think, the perception they have of people who are on drugs. Now the thing is, I've talked with coppers when I've been on acid, and the coppers have had no idea. At the side of the road, no, I wasn't driving, although I might have been. At the side of the road, fully fledged conversations. Coppers had no idea whatsoever. Like, that's what a person looks like on drugs. Sometimes you've got no clue. And the worst ones are the ones where you've like. So the ones that people are quite happy to consume themselves with are the ones that not only taste nice. First off, that's the first and foremost. Like, they taste really good. They're sold legally in shops, so it's perceived to be fine. And they're also the ones that, it's just a little cup of tea. It's not going to do anything bad to you. And you're right, the effect is slight, but constantly
Even though it's the
smashing.
14th cup of tea in the day, and if you used to be like, but you've had 14 packets of digestives today, you've got something going on here.
I've smoked
they
14
don't
crack
look at it.
pipes.
Yeah,
Someone's
yeah.
going to go, Jimmy, it's time to get yourself off to the little padded room, mate. You're going to
How
take a
about
long
you have
break for
two?
everything.
How about 2 a day?
Yeah.
One in the morning and one to get you to bed. Well, not to get you to bed, but
To
to
carry
get
you
you
through
in
to
your
the
back in your
morning.
bedroom. Yeah.
Where you do your best work, the drawings and stuff on the walls.
So we can lock the door and feel safe while we sleep. What we want, Jimmy, is we want a bit of safety. That's all we're looking for. We want a little bit of peace of mind. We love having you here. We love it. We don't know where you came from, innit? Oh, it's funny, isn't it? But you and that crack pipe, you're inseparable. You're always together.
You're like Dick and Dom. You just fucking... You can't go anywhere without each other. But you're not in a bungalow, you're in my house. And I'll be honest, I'm sick of replacing this door that
It
you've ripped
feels
through
like
every
I'm
night.
living in a bungalow because I can't go downstairs because you've brought this guy called Terry over.
And it stinks
Terry's
of
never
shit.
left. I'm scared of Terry, but he has got his uses. He will always offer when he goes to the shop, do I want anything? And
you
I'll
ca-
say yes, and he never brings it back. But
You
he
ca-
always offers.
He's never
He's
good
a
at...
lovely guy,
He's
just
not good at
terrifying.
He's not good at catching anything. The depth perception's gone because of the eye. But, it's great that he keeps his crack rocks hid in the eye socket, but I wish he wouldn't get them out in front of the kids.
It scares them, and so does his so-called border collie. You know, don't you, that is a badger.
It doesn't matter how many times you get it to play dead and roll over. It won't chase species.
Have you seen the teeth on that?
That thing is 100% rabies.
That floorboard creaks, it thinks it's a broken leg, it runs.
And I haven't seen the cat in days. I don't know where that's gone. But
It's
its
got
bell
a bit of
keeps
sense.
ringing.
It's
Its
got
bell,
a bit of sense, Jimmy. That cat.
its bell keeps
left,
ringing
and
every
because
time
of
the
you and your
badger
bloody crack
burps.
pipe.
Its bell keeps ringing every time the badger burps. I don't know why.
I've never seen a badger cough.
I've never smoked crack. I've smoked Yeah,
What do you want
yeah.
for that? What am I supposed to say to that?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know if you're setting up for something or if you're just like, I've never smoked crack.
I was,
Just so
sort
that people know who's listening. The way he said that was with we don't often make what seems like eye contact by looking down the camera because it's quite intense from the pair of us. But he did it then when he said, I've never smoked crack. As if he's either trying to convince me or looking for me to send him a little message, type out "well done" or something, you know. But carry on.
Yeah, you're right. But it's one of those things that I've always thought I'll try when I'm like past. If I make it past 60, yeah, give it a go. That's the time to get addicted to shit.
See, a mate of mine, we'll even call him by name because it was one of the wisest things I've ever heard. Alan, friend of mine, years ago. He was quite asking someone what they'd do on the deathbed, and this person said they'd do heroin. And he looked at them like he'd never heard, like as if he'd never heard it before, and he just thought it there, and he went, "That's awful, mate." So you've got your family around you, or whoever loves you, and your last thought on this earth is, "I'm gonna fucking get smacked off me tits."
Yeah.
I've never done it, but I'm gonna do it now. He's like, "That's awful for your family to see."
No, it's not.
Oh, mate, I'm
No,
fully
it's
with
not
him.
because what they haven't, because right, it's only horrible if your family don't understand where you're coming from. Because
Or if you've been doing it for 40 years
what
and your
that
family have
means-
come around on the day you're dying.
No,
And you're
what
just
that-
ignoring them, just being like, please, just the spoon. I've
what
got everything else I need here in my bag.
what that means
You made
is
that cup of tea before. It's your 16th cup of tea there. Just that spoon, just dry it off in your t-shirt, pass it here.
no, because what that means is, for all those years before you got to that point, you didn't try those drugs because of your family. You loved them enough to not try those drugs then. So they should respect the fact that you've waited like 2 generations worth of your family, got to the end of that, lived your service, carried out your role as father, grandfather, whatever, and then gone, right, I'm having a session now. You can leave us alone. It's been great. You don't want to see this bit. This is the bit you don't want to remember. It's like when you got like the worst part about owning a dog.
now you're wrong.
Wait there. Shut up.
Go on.
Shut the fuck up. The worst part about having a pet is the point where you've got to put it down.
Again, disagree.
Nah, it's. I love killing them. They never last long
It's the only
enough for
reason
us
you
to
buy
enjoy the
them.
living bit. Nah.
I easily had about 30 cats growing up. I tried adding them all up a couple of weeks ago.
Well, anyway, it is the fucking
I wasn't
worst.
killing.
The worst part is the day where you've got to get them put down and being in that moment, because you can't leave the room because you don't want your pet to be alone when it dies. But being there is the most brutal point ever. I don't want my family to have to go through that. So my last couple of days, if I know they're coming, they're not even going to fucking be there. I'm going to do what that bloke did in the news. It was in the news a while back in America. The bloke who got arrested for busting his wife out of a hospice. She was on a deathbed, about to die. He busted her out of the hospice. Took her. They had a fucking meth binge in a motel and shagged for like a fucking week or something till she died.
Nice.
And he was like, "That's what she wanted to do." So I'd be saving it and do it then. However, this was coming back to something. I've not smoked crack.
Before you, I quite like the idea that this granddad's lying in his bed and his family is around him and he's got his heroin already sorted from the lad down the road, and the family are like, "Oh, I don't know," and he just grabs his youngest grandchild by like the scruff of the neck on the shirt, the collar, pulls them in and goes, "This is how you're gonna remember me for the rest of your life," and then he takes the belt off the grandchild and uses it to wrap around his shoelace off the grandchild and wraps it around his own arm so he can shoot up in his arm.
Yeah, that would be an absolute horrible... And that's probably what your mate thought about that bloke. That's the image. We've got very different images of how this would play out. Mine is the most respectful situation possible.
I think that'd be funny to do as well. It
It'd
wouldn't
be
be funny if you're the grandkid or in the family, but it's not something I like to think that if I was to be in that situation, I'd want to be remembered by them all. And again, it's the same thing as earlier on or in the Patreon one we did. I'd like to be the funniest guy in the room.
Yeah, you are in a room by yourself, which is, that's...
Well, you are after you've done that to the grandkid.
Um,
No one's staying beside you there.
and does that laugh, that laugh has to be good enough that it carries you through however many hours you've got left until you die, because from that point on, you'll have nothing else to make you laugh because your family and friends have all left at that point. In my situation,
I reckon they've left and unplugged the telly on you and all.
yeah, and unplug the life support back up if you've got one. Yeah, my situation, it's with the utmost respect, but let me hit this rock and fucking let me speedball and take everything that I've never taken. Even then, I'm not taking fentanyl. And yeah, I've never smoked crack. But one of the funniest things I've heard recently was I was in a comedy club I was at a comedy night in Newcastle, and there's another sort of new act I know. Asked him if he'd been doing any writing and that, and asked him how his job was going. And he said he got sacked because he decided to have a recreational crack binge. Recreational crack binge.
Just on and off.
I've never heard those three words together.
No,
it was like me and my mates just got some crack to smoke for the weekend. I was like, you can do that. I don't think you can do that.
The willpower, mate.
I don't.
Why is he trying to be a comedian if he's got that sort of like staying power and willpower that he could?
I don't know if he does. That was again one of the things I left that situation was. I don't think you can do that. As in, I don't think you've just taken that recreationally. I think what you've actually done there was started a crack habit. No one goes, oh, I took crack recreationally over the Christmas break. Just had a weekend, Black Friday. I thought, you know what, off is on in the shops.
Stuff.
I've been fighting all day to get that HD telly, 50 quid off. What I'm gonna do is fucking smoke some brown, and and then toot the rock. Like,
just in Morrison's toilets after you've got your chair with your arm around your telly. You're just in Morrison's toilet with a broken light bulb and a lighter.
Just fucking gouching out in Morrison. Not drop on the telly. Telly is in your hands.
That's yours, and you've got the receipt as well stapled to your forehead.
Now, here's one thing, and we have brought this up before. I'm sure I've mentioned it before. I'm sure I was going to use it as a bit at some point. There is something to be said about the centre of gravity and balance that any sort of opioid addict has, or any sort of addict who appears to be that take drugs that cause you to gouge, like spice heads and things like that. They manage to stand in poses that defy gravity, semi-conscious, actually no, bordering on unconscious, for hours, and they do not fall.
Almost like there's someone just holding them, usually.
Yeah.
The way that they are. Like, you see them sometimes bent over from the hip.
Yeah.
And I can't do that.
Every limb is bent. Like I actively, somewhat, do exercise to some degree. I'm not a gym freak. I'm still a fat cunt. But I'm a little bit bendier than some people who don't do any. And I'll tell you what. Most bagheads aren't going gym, right? They might be going breaking and entering. They might be doing a little bit of running from the busies and jumping out walls and that, but they're not doing any they're not doing strength and conditioning. I suppose breaking and entering is strength and conditioning.
Cortisol as well will be rushing through you at them points sometimes. So
yeah,
maybe that's what keeps you nimble and that, you know.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed to remain so sturdy and so flexible. Like you got to commend them for that. Now I think we could put that to use in activism, because a lot of a really good way of carrying out like sort of protest and that is a sit in. And what makes like you can't get them out, right?
No.
Fuck gluing yourself to a fence. Fuck going to fucking Terminal 30, whatever the fuck it was called, Terminal 3 or what it was. I don't know. I think it was Terminal 7 or something. I don't know. Whatever it was at Heathrow that's getting built, and they were like, "You can't put it here. There's wildlife in the grass, and it'll all die, and then the
world will burn." Border collie dens.
Yeah, there's badgers in the trees. They're fucking they're swinging badgers. You know, they're native to fucking Worcestershire. Although it's not Worcestershire, it's outside London. But anyway, we stick 30 spice heads in the lobby of any, and this feeds in to some bonus content that's going to be on the Patreon. It fits in with the little idea I like to call the 5-a-day assassin, and his sort of escapades into environmental activism. What we do is we go to petroleum companies and oil companies, and we just stick 50 spice heads in a boardroom, because you're not getting them out. You're not getting them out. You're not getting. Once they're in, the thing is, right? Because they're there for a few hours when they're gouching, right? Because you get them to smoke the pipe before they get in the minibus outside. Yeah, we're all in the minibus outside. We pass around the spice. We've got masks on because that shit's toxic as fuck. I've got a mate that works as a screw in the prison, and he comes home like all the time with secondhand spice inhalation. It's terrible. Like, it's a fucking epidemic on the wings of prisons. So we wearing gas masks, hazmat suits, shit like that. This is film shit. Minibus full of spice heads. We've promised them. Actually, I don't even have to come up with an idea. We've promised them spice. That's all we've done.
Them new computer monitors.
No, you've sort of beat us to it.
CEX.
You've beat us to it. Because the first stage is getting them to smoke the pipe, getting them in a boardroom, and then getting them stationary, which doesn't take a lot. You just wait for it to kick in. Stationary, that's it. We've caused a ruckus. Step 2 is when they come around. Now, when a spice head or any sort of addict, and I'm using, and this is not punching down, this is merely a lot of the times a sad state of fact. These people aren't usually in the best of economic situations, and their next fix, or the payment for their next fix, if they're not someone who just gets ticketed up to the eyeballs, then fucks off their dealer and risks their kneecaps, which kneecaps are pretty essential when you've got to stand in weird poses for hours.
I suppose that's why they keep selling to them then, because they're like, oh, he pays.
You can value them, yeah. We know he can stand up. They've not been broken. But when they come round, their immediate like point of call is gonna be, what can I steal to get more spice? And then we've taken down BP from the inside, literally from the inside. Security aren't getting them out. And in some, I mean, you watch car chase and police chase now, you can shoot a spice head or someone on PCP and they don't feel it.
To add an entrepreneurial twist to this, as we often do, when you do this, you do it with, say, 25 spice heads, and then you get in touch with the CEO or the big manager of that building and say, hi, you've to whom it may concern. I mean, probably find out their name so it hits home harder. Be like, you're all right, Dave. Fucking, you can see the effect 25 spice heads have had on your business.
Guess what 50 will do?
Imagine what 50 would do to Shell.
Oh, well, I mean...
And if you pay me, I'll send 50 there. And then what you do is you go there and you send 50 there, and you send an email to their boss, and you're like, see what 50 will do? Imagine if I was to send 100 to Texaco. And they're like, oh, go on, then. Great idea.
The only thing is then, although...
Like a weird Ponzi scheme.
You've sort of created an opening, but also it could be... We've got to have a constant supply of spice heads. I was thinking of recycling the same 25.
It seems pretty addictive.
There's enough of it, yeah. It's cheap and all, like, it's proper cheap. Yeah, but we could ransom them, and we could be the same people and go, you've got to pay us how much to get them out. Your idea seems better there. However, I reckon we can cash in twice and get this government funded. Because like government are all about this shit where they don't want homeless people in like eyesores in the city centres and that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we offer ourselves up as a removal service of sorts. You know, like the type to be serious for a second. Yeah. To be serious for a second, just like the government actually do with homeless people in city centres, which is arrest them, and then they'll release them on the edge of cities where they have no access to anything. And whether you like or dislike homeless people, if you dislike them, you're an absolute horrible cunt. But there's no purpose whatsoever to leaving someone that has no home on the edge of a city, other than disrupting their ability to survive somewhat on what little a city provides. So if we're going to cash in on that market, we may as well get backed by the government and say, like, here, give some coin, we'll get rid of your spice heads. That's how we'll market it as well. That's how we'll market it, is go up to them and just say, give some coin, we'll get rid of your spice heads. And they'll go, yes, you look like the wrong uns who will be able to do such a task.
I think it'd have to be direct marketing. I don't think this is the sort of thing we could plaster on buses.
No,
because obviously they might get wise to it as well. You know, if we do that.
Spice heads.
Yeah, because a lot of them hang around at bus stops. It seems
they do. But
never going anywhere.
Yeah, but can they lift their heads up that high to be able to read the advertisement on a bus?
Eventually.
Yeah, they'll fall over once in a while.
Just
and like,
looking
up
and seeing it, reading it upside down. Now?
You fucking seen that?
What's a 5NP?
But yeah, we get backed to get rid of them. And then we just dump them in another city, and then we approach that city. Same thing. This is a fucking... And then at the same time, what we also do is...
Magnetic signage for the vans we need.
In order to give back, we will actually pay a living wage to the spice heads. They'll spend it on spice.
Yeah, and it keeps them in work as well.
That's
then.
exactly.
Yeah,
But they'll get a living wage. They'll get a roof over their head. The office of whichever petroleum...
the minibus.
the minibus.
The nighttime drive.
The office of whatever fucking place they're in at the time. So they'll have places to go and things to do. And they'll not be bored. And another thing they love doing is just is congregating.
What if this is already planned? What if this is already planned and that's the reason why new offices and then fancy ones have all these ping pong tables and table football things? Because it's like we don't want the spice heads to congregate in the meeting rooms, but if we can get them down here when they're sobering up to play on these and to mess with these, maybe we can get a little bit of blood pumping through them just fast enough to be able to get a bit of tea or coffee into them and pump them out the door afterwards.
Well, I've got
and the slides, why they have the slides coming downstairs as well in some offices.
I've got an alternate theory. And that's that fentanyl and the things that are in spice, the everything that's produced and exported from China, actually manages to create listening devices out of humans. And that's why they're stationary in city centres and that, because that's where you want to listen. That's where all the information goes on.
That's the true transhumanism.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the... See, do you know earlier I couldn't figure out why there was a benefit to fentanyl?
Yeah. See, we've worked that out.
Now we've worked it out, and
while we're talking about spice as well, I had some suspicions about spice which I'd like to bring up with you.
Brilliant, because it's fucking horrible. I've never tried that either. I'd like to.
I was wondering, is it? See, I think I may have. If it's supposed to be the legal cannabinoid stuff you can buy, and it always had horrible sounding names, comes in them weird plastic packets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like imagine
salvia.
if you was to get like a plane, like a woodworking plane,
yes,
and go down slices of perspex. But that's what it looks like in a bag.
That
pretty rank.
I'm not. Well, it depends when you did it, because spice only sort of came around in the last, I think, 10-ish years.
I would put it around 2015-ish.
Yeah, maybe then.
I think around then. I think maybe it was we just bought it from a shop.
Yeah. One of those shops that usually sells piercings and earrings and that, and then sells bongs and shit as well.
Yeah.
That's the.
I'll have a go. I had the fucking mental.
How'd you end up in that profession?
Fuck knows.
How'd you go? My role in
criminal
society.
Record.
My role in society is to dress like a goth, sell piercings, shit bongs, and legal highs that only do damage to people.
Yeah, that make you just feel fucking ill. Well, that was the weird thing with it. It didn't. There was quite a group of us, and the group looked ill. Yet me and a couple mates we felt fine. So I don't know if we just got lucky, and whoever rolled it up with backy just put it in little weird chunks, and the three of us ended up with just the backy bits and got very lucky, because everybody else looked like they could fucking just go to hospital. Really,
it's weird, man.
The colour just drained out of them, and we're thinking, this isn't good. No one was laughing. No one was having a good time.
This is what I mean, man. Like it.
So I would
even
never
with
suggest
crack,
to do it.
Even with crack and heroin and meth, like I've seen in both real life and in videos and shit, like they're having a good time some of the time. Right?
Yeah,
sometimes they're not in. Sometimes
they believe they are. At
exactly. That's what I mean.
These didn't seem that.
I don't see that with anyone who's taken fentanyl in any way. Like the only thing I see from them is, this is horrible. Something doesn't feel right. I need to get it out. It must be listening devices. And what the Chinese are really, really want out of us most of all is lower income town centre gossip. That's what they really want to know. They don't want.
So we're really all picking each other apart as well.
They don't.
How can we get at them independently?
Yeah, they don't want They don't want government information.
Well, maybe that's how they're going to use targeted advertising. So they can use the names of the people that you know from your contacts list, and a rumor that they've been spreading about you through information that they've learnt about you from the spice heads.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
They're sneaky. They're sneaky
Yeah.
people, sneaky clever people. These mass
fentanyl
producers of fentanyl.
sellers.
Yeah. I
Well,
wouldn't-
my little suspicion about Spice though was I've got it written down here because I've got some notes
I can
this
see you
week.
glancing off to the side. It looks
Yeah,
professional.
yeah. It does. It's written in big letters as well, and it's I've wrote legal highs. Are they secret testing, societal tests, effect tests? Are they looking for something to put into food, and that's why it's called spice? So they could put this stuff into food. We cook the food, and then the effects of it had come out because it's been cooked and it's reached the temperature, and then it gets into us, all of us, without us even knowing.
I'm not eating anything that remotely smells or tastes like spice because the smell's fucking
Yeah, but
rotten.
they might just be testing certain chemicals, and they don't want everybody getting wise to it, so that only a certain demographic of people in it are going to be drawn to giving that a go and working their way through all the different flavors of spice, if you like.
Imagine
and the
being a
different
spice
types.
connoisseur. You know, like people are with booze, or even I mean, like the way arsehole weed smokers like me are, where you're like, oh, this is nice. I'll taste this. The terps in this are different. Oh, doesn't this taste like a sweet and all that shit? Imagine spice just before they nod out. They've got 30 seconds of like analysis. Oh, I'm really getting. I like the oaky undertones.
I'm getting polyurethane.
I'm getting removed from outside WH Smith's by security again for the third time this week.
I fell asleep on the escalator.
Speaking of wrong uns, I saw a woman walking past us again on the same drive home with a litre. It's about fucking 17 degrees up here today, and the sunshine was out, which means basically in the northeast, summer's started. And this lass is walking along, puffer jacket, fucking jeans, like she's walking about in winter wear when everyone else is almost tops off, with a litre of Smirnoff Ice, just
How's she
supping it
cold?
down the main street.
How
Beautiful.
could she can't be cold if she's...
That was what a sight. I thought she's living the best life, and like
Yes.
some of us could take a note.
I like
from
the
her book.
idea that she has a proper big job as well. And
Yeah,
she
yeah,
just
yeah.
she's managed to book the day off, and she's like, no one's going to disturb me if I dress like this.
I like
and
to
just-
think she made all her money in crypto, and now like
Yeah.
she's a secret multimillionaire, and she just walks around letting everyone think she's the town baghead.
Oh, that's a fucking sick idea. You know, for all these auditors and that on TikTok, they call themselves auditors, where they go around filming the people that give you fines and that for sick dimps and film the police.
Is that what? Oh,
What
right,
if-
okay. Is that the Jobsworths?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And then what you could do is invent bottles that look exactly like booze bottles for people to drink water out of, so that they can lure the police over, so that they can get better recordings and be like, "It's water, mate. It's water. Smell it. It's water." Just because it looks like they're drinking out of a beer bottle.
I've
and
watched
it's not.
people do that at festivals. You know when you can't take your own booze in at a festival.
Yeah.
I've watched people like finish a bottle of vodka, fill it up with water, and then be a dickhead in front of security, just necking this bottle of water. So they're like, "Is that?" And they're like, dickhead, it's water."
fair.
Which then reminds us, I've probably talked about this again before, but it's top 5 memories of my life. The same festival was the one where me and my mate CJ went around. We went around Boomtown with super soakers full of hot dog brine.
Oh.
And we were just squirting people with hot dog brine.
Something I wanted to do growing
go
up
on.
was dress up as hot dogs and go around with water guns with tomato sauce and mustard inside.
Well, we were squirting people with hot dog brine. Now, Boomtown is a pretty fucking, by this point, pretty woke festival. A lot of vegetarians and vegans there getting covered in hot dog brine, like real
Nice.
fucking covered. And at one point, we're at the reggae stage, which is where the hippies are going to fucking gather. And this lad comes over to us, watching us soak people with hot dog water. He goes, "Oh, it's fucking great. Can I have a go?" And me and my mate like give each other the look, like, "Yes, of course you can, lad. You don't have a clue what's going on here." And he proceeds to cover loads of people in front of us, and we're laughing our backs off, like thinking this is incredible. He hasn't got a clue. And then he turns around and goes, "It's all right. They're all me mates." That's it. Me and my pal are buckled on the floor. All of it. He's just covered all of his mates in salty hot dog water, and just he's creased about. They're all smelling themselves, wondering what the fuck's going on. Me and my mate are just wandering away with these super soakers, like, "See you later, pal." That was drugs. To relate that to this episode, that was drugs. I had a great time.
brought that along.
That was
Well, I'd
MDMA.
like to. So you brought up Chinese, right? Now, MSG gets associated a lot with the Chinese, doesn't it? And it's a drug,
Yeah.
if you like, that gets put into food.
Yes. It's nice. It's bloody beautiful.
In reality, a lot more likely to be used by the Italians.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
And it's not a mob thing. It's just because it's naturally occurring in tomatoes and cheese.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I thought
did-
that was interesting.
I did not know that, but the hate against MSG, especially with regards to Chinese food, is basically racism in America. That's where that stems
Didn't
from.
know that.
It was anti-Chinese propaganda, being like one of the main things. Don't like the food. You can't like the food. They poison it with MSG. Don't buy it. It's fucking poison. They put all this shit in. Nothing wrong with MSG in massive amounts, just like anything else, like salt and
It's
shit.
just salt, innit?
It's gonna fuck
it's a
you
type
up.
Of salt.
Yeah, it's just a really nice one. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
kind of sweet.
And you can't make fucking salt and pepper chips without the fucker, as I've tried. I ended up buying a fucking kilo bag of it.
Oh, yeah. Where
I
would you
had
like
other
to
bits,
go next?
but they were more serious bits. So I had
Let's have
bits.
some serious bits that people have been. We've
We've
warmed
got
them
maybe
up now.
10 minutes. Because I've noticed that even though my laptop is on charge, the battery appears to be going down. Service recommended, it says. Battery is
Wouldn't
not
it?
charging. That would be why things are dying then. I think I might need a new battery. Okay, well, in which case, we've probably still got 10 minutes, that's fine. I was going to talk about the government benefiting from the sale of drugs. We've pretty much covered that already. I was going to talk a little bit about like Contras in Iran through America and stuff, but we don't have to. We said at the start that Americans and the British, we like to do our drug dealing on a government scale at least, covertly or through businesses, so it looks professional. How a white man would do it. Not how we perceive a sneaky Asian person to do it, which is just sell it outright, which is what we should basically do. What I
Which is weird how we'd see that as sneaky.
yeah. What we should do is just be like those countries that go, oh yeah, we just make meth and sell it to you. What the fuck are you gonna do about it? That's what we should do.
It's
but we
legal
don't.
here.
I was going to talk a little bit about the legal cannabis in the UK and how that's mainly irradiated weed from fucking Israel that is no good for you whatsoever, a rip-off, no real benefit to the user, and basically it's ruined a genuine medicine. No real need to talk about that anymore. I was going to bring up EncroChat. That's pretty boring. EncroChat was the messaging service, the social media service and app that was it was contained on phones that were made specifically for the purpose of accessing this chat, and it was used by organised crime to buy and sell services, mainly drugs, other services as well, weaponry, shit like that. EncroChat was created by the police, or hacked by the police. But there are many suggestions that it was actually created by the police in the first place, which would make I don't understand. If I was a criminal of any degree involved in the purchase or sale of anything illegal, and someone came to me going, "Here, do you want to access this thing that basically means that only people with this thing can fucking can talk to you about these crimes, and only the people with this, and it's just full of criminals. There's no one else on it who isn't a criminal. Do you want to join?" I'd be like, "Nah, mate. I think that sounds pretty sketchy. I think that's probably going to get found out." But these people who are all
like a
heads of
database.
these people, heads of giant crime organisations, mid-tier, top-tier, whatever, were like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. Let's human traffic and drug deal on there. Let's sell weapons to each other and stuff and fucking give each other cars and shit and talk about properties. That sounds grand. So that got busted. Oh, Jax, that was a little blip of the Skype. Jack appears to be gone now. Jack appears to be back
I
again.
could still hear you, though. You froze, I could still hear you.
Fantastic. Well, anyway, EncroChat was busted and a load of people are going down. And at the moment, there are trials going on for lots of those. Like, it happened over a year or so ago, the crackdown, the bust. And now loads of people are, like, getting arrested and sent down as a result. That is so fucking funny that anyone bought into that and didn't think it was sketchy. I was also going to mention a bit about the government profiting from illegal drugs like Bitcoin. Like when Silk Road got busted.
A little.
So the bloke who was behind Silk Road, Dread Pirate Roberts, or whatever his name is, Dread Pirate something. I think it might have been Roberts. Anyway, he had obviously like fucking a ridiculous amount of cryptocurrency as a result of this, that the CIA or FBI then seized. Then now, I think as a result, they became one of the biggest holders of cryptocurrency. The equivalent of what they have now is the equivalent of trillions of dollars in crypto.
So it's almost exactly like when America decided to swap from silver to gold, and exactly like when they swapped from gold to oil.
Yeah, funny that,
That's
isn't
interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like it's the next step.
Yeah.
It's whenever there's a development in currency or something that has a value that could be traded for that again, that the government wants in on it. It's mad that.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Very strange, isn't it? Unusual.
It's weird. And that they profit off things that they're actively making illegal because they don't like the fact that it opens people's perceptions or that they don't have money in it. So let's somehow make some money from it.
Which is a lot of posh people, really. That there are a lot of posh and rich people. And posh and rich people like artisanal bread as well. Not only they like the posh breads in that, and they have some poppy seeds on there. So could you, if you really wanted to be clever, could you blame things like the war in Afghanistan on bakers of posh bread, rather than it being about oil and anything like that? Could you think, oh, these posh and rich people just wanted fancier foods?
Well, I'm going to now. From now on, that's what I'm going to blame it on. Yeah, I'm not going to blame it on Tony Blair and George Bush and like absolute devils who and warmongers who wanted to make millions.
What if they weren't warmongers? What if it was the war was sort of there and they were just on the side of Warburtons and they're like, you know what? No, I like my toasty
they were
orange.
Warburtons.
Yeah. And they're like, I like my orange bread. I like the orange packet of bread.
Yeah.
And I don't see why you want these fancy seeds in there.
Yeah, I see that. On the other hand, though, like, I mean, there's MPs sniffing beak in Parliament and that. Right? There's loads of shit going on at the moment with catching MPs watching porn in Parliament and finding coke in the toilets in Parliament, and MPs have been doing this and MPs doing that. I will say one thing, right? Now, I don't want to support. I actively detest the Conservative Party and everything it stands for. Its history entirely. However, now I've never usually seen a government that I thought was representative of the people. But now I've found out that people are watching porn in work, sniffing coke at work, getting drunk and that, dodging tax and shit. It's like any job I've ever had. Like, I finally feel that we have a government that's representative of the people. There's nonsense. There's nonsense in real life. There's nonsense in Parliament. There's drug addicts in real life. There's drug addicts in Parliament. You got people skipping work and that, falling asleep at work. I know people who fell asleep at work when I had a job.
Well, what if this is why they're putting all this out to try and make people be like, oh, they're just like me.
They're just like us. If so, that's the most effective. If so, that's the most effective and real marketing campaign I've ever seen, and I'll buy it. I've bought into it. All the other ones I've seen through, but this one today, when I thought, you know what, fucking hate the Tories, but hey, not in policy in any way, shape, or form, but in existence, side from the noncery and the fucking like hate and like demonize anyone that hasn't got money. I can relate to these people. I've done bumps at work to get myself through shift before. I've fallen asleep at work before. Who hasn't? I've been pissed. I've not turned up, and yeah, I might have dodged a little tax. So these people are my people. I still want them dead, but they're my people. I've probably lost us a lot of friends.
No, I wouldn't.
I would again like to.
Anybody else that I've described in the past as your people, they're probably a bit like, oh, okay, he wants his people dead as well. So does he want us dead? Plus, as well, if you're being like my people, not those people and stuff like that, that's going to raise other.
I'm on about the minibuses full of spice heads that I've got waiting in the taxi ranks around the world. Ready to go to the nearest oil.
Oh, is it round the world now? Not just. Well,
we'll start at home. We'll start at home, but let's be honest. If we're going to take part in aggressive global activism, we are going to have to strengthen. We have to broaden out. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just domestic terrorism.
Yeah, and we can't be having that. On this note, have we got any parting words?
Well, I would like to end with a little bit of. I did a little bit of the maths.
Okay. I'm all
So
ears.
I think we'll end on that. So it's around a number often associated with weed, 420.
Right.
And I thought I'd look into that a little bit, like maybe what it's got to do with and where it comes from. And I wanted to bring up the calendar of George Eastman's calendar and the Ethiopians' calendar. And if you use that, they'd actually celebrate 420 on the 26th of April instead, with the international fixed calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Which means it's 110 days into the year, which gives you the number 11, which is 3.92 months into the year. And if you have the 11, you could be the 1st of October as well, or the 10th of January. So maybe there's a certain special date around there. And then it's also, because it's the 26th of the 4th, that's 4 plus 2 plus nothing equals 6, which could associate it with demons.
Yeah, I'd never made that tie. So are we getting stoned to fight demons, or are we...
Maybe to power them or to season our emotions so that they get more out of it. Or maybe it's a way to stop the demons and the ethereal entities from eating the energies of people, to try and put them off, like a sort of, like when you spray vinegar on stuff your dog keeps chewing.
All right, yeah, if you put lemon juice where you don't want a cat to piss.
Yeah, there might be something like that to keep them away.
And it's like a smoke,
and that might be why a lot of inner
screen.
cities have drug issues. Yeah.
Oh,
because
right.
the demons used to congregate there and in council estates and stuff because there was a lot of people. And then someone was like, well, if we introduce drugs here, we can disrupt all of the psychic brainwaves and shit that's going on there.
So
and the ethereal entities can't eat them.
The message to take away from this podcast before we end is save the world, smoke buckets.
Yeah, well,
And
if you want the demons and the invisible things to leave you alone, it's probably best to do drugs.
Yeah, and join our Patreon.
Oh yeah, that's exactly the best way. That's the best way.
Do Patreon. There'll be links probably in the description of the things that you're probably listening to us from right now. Join that. There will be tiers. You don't know the tiers. You'll have to listen to the bonus clip that's on the Patreon, the first bit of content where we discuss the tiers, which involves self-immolation. But I'm not going to break into any more. Go to the Patreon. This has been Drugs. I've been here. See you later.